Thank you very much. Um, so, Sergiy, it's very good to have you with us, and this is a chance to talk with you and just find out a little bit about what the last 12 months have been like for you and the family. It's been very good to be in touch with you regularly, and our hearts have been with you. Just tell us, first of all, where you are dialing in from.
Hello, everyone. What a feeling to be surrounded by all of you from different places of the world. I'm sorry, but I'm now in Kyiv, in the center of Kyiv, Podil, and it is my home. I'm little overwhelmed, Mark, to be honest. Thank you so much for being so much in touch with me. But sometimes it feels completely surreal, completely unreal. One thing that brings me reality is to see here Jonathan Lamb, because I remember now, I think it was 34 years ago when he first time came in our home. It was also in the center of Kyiv, though in different place. And it was before we knew that Soviet Union will cease to exist. And so many years before internet existed. And I knew about Lancome and about all of you. So thank you, Jonathan, for being here and giving me this feeling of reality.
And a long-standing commitment of brothers and sisters who love one another. And I know, Sergiy, that you and Irina are much loved by many people that we know and work with and across the continent. And I know that there are many people who wanted to be here, and the reason we're recording this so that they can at least follow up afterwards. But we do want to stand with you and to express our standing by praying, particularly, but hearing from you. And I understand if this is very emotionally difficult, so we completely take that into account, of course. But I've spent many happy hours in your apartment as well, in the one that you're in now. I think I've recognized the bookcase. I'm just so thrilled that actually you're there, because I think in the early months, if not weeks, the thought that actually it would be safe for you to be at home was almost impossible to imagine. I mean, describe what it was like those first weeks a year ago.
Well, I should say that I don't have very clear memories of everything what happened during this year. I remember only vaguely some snapshots, and I don't know if it's temporarily or maybe it is just will stay with me. But first few weeks were filled with a lot of sense of, again, unreality completely. Now, when I see here Slavka, it's again giving me this sense that God was preparing me for this, because many times I remembered him and his explanation of what happened in Sarajevo when he took us during that meeting when we gathered in Bosnia and Herzegovina. But again, it was, you cannot ever be ready for this. So in my memory are just things that are coming one on another, and there are too many, and sometimes it's already like a skyscraper, and you don't know where the end is. And somebody is calling or writing and asking, Sergiy, you have 60+ years old, so now you can get us out of here. But our older father was trying to get us away from Ukraine, and he has heart attack, so please come and help. And so we're staying 19 hours in line before the border in small car with families. And this is one small picture, small feeling when you don't know where it will end and what next will happen. And so many evacuations, many uncertain things, trying to keep Irina calm, my wife, who was staying in Wrocław, and communicating with her, coming back to Kyiv, and not knowing.
She was in Poland.
She was in Poland, in Wrocław, yes.
Mhm.
And then a call from a friend who said, do you want to work together on humanitarian aid? And it immediately felt like, yes, this is what I want to do. And so since then, there were another skyscrapers. It was unpredictable things. One, again, snapshot, I remember I'm in Bratislava together with this organization, good old friend who found me in Moscow when I was still a student and was mentoring me. And now he's head of this Integra humanitarian organization. And I am in the midst of, on Zoom, of, again, people from different evangelical cheer funds and many, many other groups from different continents. And they're saying, well, we have a problem. And it's not problem with money, it's problem how to spend the money. So I have felt weight on my shoulders now, how I can be true to this call, to rightly help people with this incredible responsibility. I could go on and on, but you already probably have feeling of how it felt like during the first few weeks.
I mean, I remember you were doing a lot of driving, weren't you? And I mean,
still do. Last night I was still driving. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, you've in our conversations, you've mentioned, some miracles, really. I mean, what was that? What has been your longest stint in driving?
The longest one was, I remember we left from Lviv with a family. In fact, it was exactly that family whose father suffered from heart attack. And we left at 6 o'clock. We woke up, left at 7, and came next day, I think it was 3 p.m. to Warsaw. So I was behind of the wheel all this time in 19 hours line and many other things, praying very hard that God would keep me safe and would give me alertness and I will be able to drive, because I was the only driver in the car.
Wow. So you've been in different countries on the borders of Ukraine, and then you've come back to Ukraine. How have you sort of worked out what you should focus on? Because there are so many different demands, different responsibilities. How do you juggle all that?
I don't know. It's really a big question even now. This is one of my biggest prayer need, in fact, because again, it opens almost like unexpectedly so often, big needs, big challenge. And I feel like God already gave us resources with so many friends abroad, so many wise people who can give counsel. And so we're torn apart in Realis, trying to decide what to do. It's an endless story of needs. Everyone next will be bigger than the previous one, in desire to help with this need, and then another comes, and then just understanding, well, we can do only what God is probably calling us to do right now, and not worry about the next one.
And for those who don't know, Sergey, just tell us, remind us what Realis is.
Realis is a Research, Education, and Light Center. We started as the place that was called to help people who suffered from inability to be true light to the society, to the world around us, because we were, as you know, in the Soviet Union, just small sects. We were to live away from everybody else. But now things were so wide open. So the idea was, we need to start a center where people can come and think, research first, but then educate each other. So we could become truly light of the gospel, light of our Jesus Lord in society that now wants to listen to us. And so we started it in 1996, and for the next so many years, there were incredible opportunities. And I think that now this last 12 months is the biggest one. Just few hours ago, I am about 7 kilometers from the border with Russia. Last evening, it was already getting dark. And the officer who was the head of the whole board armies, Granichniki, who can help me with this word, the army who are defending the
Defense forces.
Yes, and he is saying, would you please help us? And he then gives us list. And then he stays with his secretary, and they say, and we thank you so much that you Christian can help us. Young officer who is asking our small organization to help them to guard the border with Russia, with Bryansk area. And there were several other things that happened yesterday, including one when the head of the town, Semenivka, where we were distributing our humanitarian help, called us and said, it looks like Russians begin to invade again from here because the shelling was so close and so loud. And all our team, young people, 4 of them were non-believers who wanted to go with us, with me, looking at me. And the person who was their leader in that little church in Semenivka is saying, well, but I need to go still to visit those people who are expecting us to go, with some small children suffering. So he said, I'm going. I saying I also go, and this gave to other people, those younger people who are around us, breath, and they said, "Oh, okay, then we'll go also with you." So then late coming after a few hours after curfew in Kyiv, and many stops on the way when police were checking us, why we without passport, without special permission, coming so late in Kyiv, and we are telling them because we were told that it was possible invasion and we should stay there. So again, it looks like surreal every day. And even now talking with you, I'm still full of these emotions that happened just yesterday.
Of course, of course. I remember one of the things that I saw you involved in Realis, and I helped with a little bit, but a few years ago, you were doing support of military chaplains. And so that, I think, particularly what about 8 years ago, perhaps, I mean, little did any of us know that how relevant that investment in people was going to be in the years to come. Have you heard from how people have been, in terms of ministering to troops on the front lines and that kind of support? Have you heard how that's been going?
Well, I hear here and there from some of our graduates, from chaplains, but I don't really have time to keep up with all of them. And I know that that was the beginning, in fact, on the level of the state, because we were the first group to give training to chaplains. Then 3 years later, Ministry of Defense, and it was already after we started, when the law was not still adopted about chaplains in Ukraine, but it was after it was adopted and everything already was clear. Then the Ministry of Defense took it from us, and since 2019, we are not engaged anymore, but we did so much and we are grateful for this. But now there is another need, and it's not so much about chaplains, though it is also about chaplains as well, but about so many people, including believers, who are on front line. We have in our church someone who spent, after being in front line, just a few weeks, and he spent then almost all this 12 months in captivity in Russian.
Wow.
And so beaten, his head is now sawed because there is something inside of his brain, but holding his small child who was born after he went in the army. And I'm just talking to people like this, and I realize how much they need now help, and even after war. Yeah. So because Realis also has this counseling ministry, and we have counselors who helped, I think, about 1,000 other psychologists to give first trauma aid, psychological aid to people. So we have a lot of work, even if the war will stop very soon.
Well, we pray that it stops immediately. I mean, there's no reason for it to continue. We just pray for that. But yes, the consequences are going to play out for many, many years, aren't they? Whatever happens. And we're just so glad to hear from you and the work that you and Realis have been doing. You've sent ahead some points for prayer, particularly that are on the sheet. If you haven't got the sheet, I'll put it in the chat for everybody. But Sergiy, thank you so much for just giving us a little flavor. I think it just helps us to be praying not just today, but for the days to come, having just heard a little bit from you. But thank you so much for joining us at this time.